Okay, well, now we're moving on to Module 2, which is on liberalism. And we've kind of been getting ready for this by talking about the defects of direct democracy and how John Adams, well, Aristotle way before John Adams and then John Adams, each in their own way tried to fix some of those defects. I like Adams' piece in particular because it deals with a couple of terms that become less frequent as we move into modern liberalism, virtue and honor. And, you know, the founders did struggle with how those qualities of character fit in to modern liberalism. But at any rate, we're going to be looking at some very important liberal thinkers now, starting with Thomas Hobbes, and then John Locke, and then John Stuart Mill, and finally we're going to look at libertarianism. And in between, we'll be dealing with a lot of other thinkers and gradations through your readings and so forth. So, but first of all, Hobbes. Why do we include Hobbes? For those of you who studied Hobbes at all, you may know that he advocated absolute monarchy. That doesn't sound very liberal, because by liberalism we mean popular government, representative government. So in what way is he liberal? Well, as we'll see, he came up with the modern social contract theory. So he rejected divine right, which was the idea that the monarch was put into place because of being chosen by God. And he replaced this with the idea that the monarch, preferably at least, was put into place by the people through a social contract. In the social contract, he said people agree with each other to give up their right to all things, which they have in the state of nature, and transfer those rights to the sovereign. The only right, though, that Hobbes said you couldn't transfer was the right of self-preservation, because that's the whole reason why people enter into a social contract. He said in nature, which is, in his view, the place without government, or, you know, imagine how people would be like without government. In nature, people would act very badly, and life would be poor, nasty, brutish, in short, because people are all a threat to each other. We don't know what anybody else is thinking, and we preempt other people's violence and aggression with our own. So people choose to enter into the social contract out of a sort of desperation to preserve themselves. So the last thing that they would give up is the right, ultimately, to defend themselves. So Hobbes' reasoning, while fairly narrow and really giving people only this one natural right, the right to self-preservation, is very characteristic of modern liberal thinking. The idea that in one's natural state, life is less secure, less good. You need government, but government is there. It's put into place by the people and for the people in order to preserve their rights, or in Hobbes' case, one right. Okay? So when we get to Locke, we'll see Locke taking Hobbes' theory, basically the basic ideas in Hobbes' theory, and transforming them into something that more closely resembles our own system, in which we have representative government, in which we have several rights, natural rights, that government cannot violate, or if it does violate, we can claim the right to rebel against that government. So Locke's theory comes way closer to what we would recognize, but we have to understand it comes from this idea of human nature and the state of nature, which Hobbes thought of first. It's not that attractive of a view of human nature, and it rejects the whole idealist view of people as basically happier with better character, and the idea of government's role being to improve people's character. Modern liberalism accepts people's character at its lowest point, rather than expecting it at its highest point. And in doing so, the modern thinkers thought that they would be building on a low but more solid foundation for government. By dealing with human behavior at its least attractive, we could develop a government based upon predictable behavior. So, and then we'll deal with the utilitarian liberalism, which is a little different. John Stuart Mill and others developed utilitarian liberalism. Utilitarians reject the idea of natural rights, so that's the big difference. And they build their liberal theory on the idea of what makes people the happiest, what makes the majority of people the most satisfied, what works. So they're very practical in nature. They also don't expect human beings to be perfect. And then we'll also deal with libertarianism, which is sort of an extreme Lockean liberalism with a very, with the idea of natural rights, definitely, but with the idea that you don't need much government. And in fact, with libertarian anarchism, you don't really need any government. You're better off actually being in a state of nature from that point of view. But most libertarians think that you need some government, but only the very minimal law enforcement, maybe minimal national defense, some ability to build roads, but sometimes not. They'll think maybe the people who use the road should pay for the road. So anyway, we'll kind of see a spectrum of liberalism in this particular module, and I hope you enjoy this as we move into territory that you're probably more familiar with, but hopefully you'll see different angles of it that you didn't before. So have fun, and remember to look for my emails every morning, reminding you of what to do every day. Everybody's doing really well with that. We do have 3 people that I haven't heard from at all. The other 14 people are very consistent, but there's 3 people that I haven't heard from at all. So if you're one of those 3 people who hasn't posted anything, I'm trying to get a hold of you. So please email me. All right? All right. Well, have a good rest of your week. Bye.